We're here.
Oh, it's weird because it like takes a minute to pop in.
It just does.
Yep.
Oh, there's nobody here. We gotta go.
Oh, no, I guess nobody wants to talk to us. So we're gonna leave. We'll catch y'all next time.
We'll check. Catch
Just kidding.
outside.
We'll give
How
you a
about that?
second. Catch me what?
Catch me outside. How about
Whatever happened to her?
She's probably in prison.
You think she's in prison?
I don't know, but I'll look it up.
Ooh, yeah. To find out. Mm-hmm. We'll give you guys a
I
second.
think she got like a reality show or something. Yeah.
Oh, did she? Wow.
We're not going to name her because she wasn't that.
Yeah, that's true.
She's fizzed out.
How are you guys doing?
She's fizzed out. She's gone.
We're wrapping up well, not really wrapping up because we've still got tonight still to get through, but we thought we'd just come on here and say hi. Oh, well, you're welcome.
Hello.
We wanted to come on and say hi, see how everybody was doing, see if there was anything we could help you get through the weekend with. Maybe ask some questions, answer some questions, do something. This is what we're going to do. Oh, well, thank you. Thank you. It's good to see you too. Not that we ever see you guys, but
yeah, where'd you guys go? We need an update.
Live on my lunch break. What did you? Oh, wow.
Lunch.
Hopefully we don't make you lose your appetite.
It's been known to happen.
Yes, it is. So, if you guys ask questions, we're going to warn you ahead of time. We may go overly deep, and we don't mean to, but it's just kind of one of the things that happens when everything's in transition like this, or everything's kind of offset. So if you got something you want to know a deep answer to, go ahead and ask. If not, tread lightly. So, guess I'm feeling rather deep today. Today's 11 years my mom's passing. I'm trying to celebrate it, but at the same time, I try to find that there's still a space in there where I'm kind of.
I need to ask you a question.
Oh, you have a question for me?
Yeah.
Oh.
Why do you celebrate the day you lost your mother?
Because if without her.
I understand celebrating her birthday, but the
Okay.
day she passed
Mm-hmm.
was no celebration.
She birthed someplace else.
Okay.
How's it?
So
well, I'm not looking at
it
that.
has nothing to do with her rebirth. It has everything to do with her passing. So why? I'm just curious. Why do you celebrate her passing? Is it because she's passed on to another place that you celebrate?
I celebrate that my connection to her was something I was allowed to have in my experience here in this world.
Okay, I completely understand that, but it also doesn't feel like a celebration. It feels very somber. It feels very depressing. It feels very, the energy is very somber. I guess that's the only word that I can use that makes sense. It's almost like we do this. We go through and we relive over and over every year the tragedy that happened. And it brings back, it's very much like when we coach that you do have to go back to move forward sometimes, right?
Mm-hmm.
I totally understand that too. I also just feel like celebrating this isn't it. This doesn't feel like it. Celebration to me feels happy and joyous and exciting, and we're waiting for something, a balloon or a cake or a smile or a happy feeling or feeling of inspiration or so many different things. But what we go through as human beings on the date of a passing of a loved one does not feel like celebration to me at all.
It's a celebration to me because my mom believed that there was a connection out there that was unlike anything on the planet, and you could have it. I'm celebrating the fact that if it weren't for her planting that in me, I wouldn't be with you. I was fortunate to have that. So my celebration is more of an honoring connection to her for you. It may not feel like it, but it's opened my eyes to see a love in you that I didn't know I had permission to have. And I didn't get to experience that when she was here. That may be the feeling of somber that you're feeling. But I should still honor that. I should still celebrate that. I should still have all of the feelings that I have for that day because it makes up who I am in connection to you and me. Does that help?
Yeah, it completely makes sense. It just doesn't feel like a celebration.
You're searching
more like an observing is what this person said, and it does feel like an observance in the air around here. It's been building. Let me go ahead and say that it's been building for a couple of days now, 2 or 3 days, maybe even 3 or 4 days. That today has been building in him. I've been feeling it, and I, and knowing that today was coming. And we had a little talk about it yesterday in the car. And I don't know. I guess my opinion is that it would make me, because I don't put myself through what you put yourself through, whether it be positive or negative. I treat the day that my father passed as any other regular day. And if there's an epiphany, or if there's something that it reminds me of, or if there's something that I learned from him through you, or you through him, then I will try to acknowledge that other days as well, or try to acknowledge it with my father, not just on the day that he passed, where he opened up that for me, or for anybody. It's just, to me, feels, when there's a birth, when there's a wedding, where there's a birthday, it's an observation of something very positive. Now, I'm not taking away from your experience at all. I don't want to take away from your experience at all. I just, Lee and I do things differently a lot of times. But I feel like when when the end of July gets here, I don't build up to that. You know what I mean? I don't build up to, in 3 days is going to be the day, or in 2 days is going to be the day, or in 4 days is going to be the day. And I don't feel like I go through that, but I observe you going through that. And the energy, what happens with the energy is this could be all day. I guess I want to say it's a little bit confusing energy, but it's energy that I guess I don't understand, because I don't participate in that negative experience. So to me, losing my father was a negative experience. It was tragic. He was very young. He was only 48. And so to observe that day, to me, is bringing energy to it. Mm. It's bringing energy to this experience that I had that wasn't positive. So when it's his birthday, then I'll say happy birthday, or hey, happy birthday, or I will silently talk to my father, or sometimes I'll grab a cupcake or have a piece of cake or something, just to honor that day. But as far as, I'm really curious to hear other opinions, but I'm really, at the space where it just, it makes me relive. I guess that makes sense. Because the other alternative is to mourn. Why mourn? Celebrate her life by remembering. Wouldn't we do that on her birthday versus on the day that she passed? It'd be my question to that. Or observing a holiday, not celebrating. So I'm trying to associate the passing of a parent with a holiday, which seems like a celebration, and it doesn't feel like a celebration.
I look through the eyes of connection. Mm-hmm. And I'll experience 2 different ways. Mm-hmm. I'll experience having the connection with you here in the physical, and the connection I had to her after I lost her. Both exist at the same time. Not many people can say, I lost my mom, but I also have a woman I'm still connected to, still here. That is very, very important. And it is very, very important that I recognize that in myself. I don't expect anybody around me to get it, but I do expect me to be able to look at that and go, how lucky am I that I get to have my connection and still have to look at a connection that I lost, but still have a connection that's very much just as strong. So I guess it's a day of connection, not a connection release, but a connection that's been reconnected. So I get the best of both worlds. That's what I'm celebrating. I don't have to disconnect to experience loss. I can't lose a woman I'm connected to because you're sitting right here.
Right. But then that energy, because we are connected, that energy spills over to me. So it's almost, then I go into a mind space if I have to wait till midnight for him to come out of this energy, or 1 or 2 or 3 o'clock, or next day, next morning, he'll be out of this energy. And then it just, I guess there's no other way to explain it, is I wait for you to come out of this energy. Like, okay, it almost feels like you with the connection with us, right? It almost feels like a negative experience for me the entire day. So, but allowing you to have or having you have that experience, you know what I mean? I'm not able to join you in that experience.
Because you go to your head.
I don't know.
Well, if you stayed in the feeling and not told yourself a story about it, you'd be with me in the feeling to understand what I'm doing and realize that any non-acceptance of whatever it is I'm feeling doesn't require you to go to your head. It requires me to accept and embrace that non-acceptance. So this is the space where most people get ripped apart. If I go to my head, we end in conflict. If I stay out of my head, you can sit there and at least see a door to join me in what I feel, not what I think. It's a hard space to come into because most people don't know that they can do that. It's almost like you don't see choice. I'm not sitting here stuck in loss. I'm actually embracing what it feels like without the story. If I get in my head, I start looking for ways that you're disconnecting from me. I start looking for ways that I can lose you. I just embrace what I'm feeling. There's no story.
Okay.
So I can embrace what it feels like so I can stay connected to me. And then I can share that with you. I only use my head to communicate with you. Other than that, it wants to use me to create loss. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it's not, it's like a timestamp. It's not even something I look for or ask for. It just shows up. Most people call it trigger. I look at the trigger and I go, yeah, I'm not going to join that. I'm going to just stay in what I feel without story. Because if I list the story, I'm looking for ways that the story makes sense. And I'm looking for your behaviors and anybody else's behaviors that I'm connected to make sense of it so I can disconnect from you all. That is the meaning of separation and loss. I just don't join it.
I'm interested in this person. I don't want to skip anybody. We'll come back, but the person is what you're saying kind of implies death is a negative thing. I guess it depends, in my opinion and in me, if it's a timely, I can't put time on death either, so it's kind of confusing. So I guess we're prepared if somebody makes it to an older age and they've lived a very happy or healthy or just a solid life, and they pass, then that feels like a very positive thing. A lot of times people are going through really rough things. There are sometimes I've even viewed suicide as a positive thing. And please don't take that out of context. Personally, I've witnessed a cousin of mine who just was so distraught and distracted, and her mind was so affected. And it was eaten up with drugs and heroin and meth and all this mess. And I watched her every day cry from morning till night, just trying to drown her life and the mental abuse, the physical abuse, and the constant sexual abuse that her life has been since she was sexually abused with penetration at 4 days old and almost died. So from the time that she remembered, even before she remembered, she had a troubled life. When she took her life, I felt the release. I felt her release. You know what I mean? So I don't view death always as a negative thing. If, I lost my father at a very early age, and I was young, I was in my 20s, I was old enough, but he didn't have to leave at that time. He drank himself from the time that he started drinking, who knows, 12, 13 until 48. 48 is not very long to have drunk yourself. That's a lot of alcohol, folks, right? So that was tragic to me and a negative thing. However, it did turn positive because I'm a medium and I can talk to my father more now than I could talk to him when he was alive, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't necessarily think it's always a negative thing. Clearly with your mother too, I didn't know her, but I know that she was going through some things, and I know that it almost felt free,
mm-hmm.
right? It almost felt free. But there was another question that says, why does it bother you, Sherry? And I think I can answer that because I wasn't able to answer that a few minutes ago. I think I can answer that is, because we're together all the time. And, we've been obviously together all day and all morning. And for the past few days leading up to this day, I felt the energy leading up to this day. And when the day got here, I, said, okay, we just stay quiet. We just stay quiet and allow him to be in the energy he needs to be in. And then just kind of stay in my lane at this point. And then it's what happens is it's the energy, because we're connected. I can feel what he's feeling inside, and he can look at the camera and say it's a positive feeling all he wants, but I feel him. It's like a mourning. I feel him, sadness. I feel it. I feel the sadness. So using the word celebration is what threw me off. And because we're connected, he can say one thing, but I know what I'm feeling. I don't question that. I know what I'm feeling. And his word celebration was the farthest thing that what's going on in his mind. He's in mourning. He's sad. He's depressed. The energy's here. I think that's why it bothers me. Not because he's going through it, because he needs to get through it. It's just that I don't want to say dampens the energy, but the energy's stoic. The energy's stoic. And that's the only way that I can describe it, if that makes sense. It's very somber. And it permeates. And I think that's why it bothers me. And not that it bothers me and consumes my day to the point where I'm like, okay, I'm going to end up joining him in his somberness and his mourning because it's overpowering. And I don't want to be in that. I don't want to be in that space. I want to be able to be happy for her and where she's at and that she's around. I want to celebrate the fact that she's in the wind and the trees and the air, that she's still here. Her energy didn't go anywhere, it's still here. So the fact that it just, I guess it's the energy. The energy. That's my answer. And I'm sticking to it. There it is. So I don't know if that helped, but we skipped some people. Let's not skip people. Let's see. Go ahead.
I chose celebration because in the mind wants to tell me a story. And it wants to tell me about the loss. And it wants to tell me about the disconnect of that loss. And it wants to tell me what I could have done or should have done to fix or prevent so she would still be here. Me going into that isn't me embracing what is felt. So I stay away from that and I choose a word that I want to make this feeling represent. So if I call it celebration and you're over there telling yourself in your head, that's not celebration, the energy of my story is still present, but it doesn't have to be something you go in your head about.
Right.
So when I labeled this celebration, the feeling I don't have to try to let go of. I don't find myself angry about it. I don't find myself in a disconnect about it. I find that I'm choosing a word that this wants to make misery.
Right.
I choose to let that go and choose something different for what the feeling should represent to me. See, as a human being, we have a right to change or the labeling that we used to do of a feeling. We just don't do it. And we don't do it as a matter of disconnect to ourselves. So if I'm connecting to the feeling and calling it celebration, I'm doing it so I won't disconnect from you.
Got it.
It's hard to do. It's not an easy thing to do because then when you feel it and you go in your head and tell yourself this isn't that, then I have to decide whether I'm going to join you and go in my head or stay in that feeling and call it a celebration and just ease through the flow of the day, the positive energy, the flow. I could go to the negative, the resistance, or go in the flow, in the feeling. I choose the feeling.
Right.
I choose the flow.
I would want you to choose the feeling.
But I could see how it does. It's very easy to come into this energy. Automatically want to go to our energy and try to figure out how we want to help that person that we're connected to, or we want to try to tell them not to be in that space. But what I've realized is every single time I find a way to fight what I'm feeling, I end up rejecting you and everybody around me.
Mm-hmm.
So if I just flow with that feeling, it changes the energy. How you're watching me experience it is how some things disconnect. But everybody on this planet, there isn't one person on this planet that when they feel something in their body, they go in their head and go to the story, and then they find a design or an actor or actress to play, and they cause all kinds of destruction. I just don't want that for anybody anymore. Not you, not me. Not even the people that have passed that still sit, look at us and shake their head and say, why are you doing that? Why are you miserable about me leaving? When you should be showing me that true love is real. It has to start in here first in order for it to show up here. So I'm just not choosing to label what I'm feeling as something that actually I know how to play a part in. I'm choosing to call it something different so I can be different, so I can experience it different. I don't want to let me go to let you go. Does that make sense?
Oh, yes.
That's very hard when it's stern coming from you like that.
Huh?
It's hard. It gets hard when it's stern coming from you like that. Like you're trying to tell me or you're in there and I feel a disconnect. And it's not a disconnect from you. It's what your mind's trying to tell you about what I'm feeling. Connect to me. Just connect to what I feel and don't tell yourself a story. You can hold me through it and I can hold you back if you stay in the feeling with me. Does that make sense?
No, that makes perfect sense. No, that makes perfect sense. But if the feeling is a negative feeling, I'm not going to go in there. Does that make sense? I mean, I don't think anybody. I'm going to try to bring you back into the positive aspects of it, not the negative aspects.
You know how when you love somebody, you want to help them through whatever it is they're going through, and you start trying to figure out things you can do to help them. And the best thing you can do is just open up your arms and let them know that your arms are open. That's the best way. So just do that for me for the rest of the day. That's all I need you to do. That means more than I could possibly tell you, but you'll feel it.
Got it. Let's get to some of these things.
Oh, okay.
We might have to scroll down a little bit.
Let's see. We got Josie in here and Michelle's in here. Hi, guys.
Oh yeah, we got coaches in here.
Where am I going?
You're gonna go. Yeah.
Okay, go.
That's
okay.
No, that's enough. That's enough.
I didn't want to lose everybody.
Let's see. We've already passed that. Sorry, we're looking at your messages.
Mm-hmm. Did you see something you wanted to respond to?
No. I wanted to get past where we're.
Okay.
Josie said her mom passed away October 30th as well, and she celebrates her passing with a dinner and or service. Death is a freeing thing. I agree. Celebrate the birthdays of past ones, not death dates. For me, when you transition, I'm happy for you, for sure. Going home is beautiful. That's why I don't understand the death penalty makes them stay here several times. Right. So we got past why does it bother you, Sherry? I hope I answered that. I don't know. I feel like more deeper after she passed away because her loss forced me to look within myself and stop writing. And I want to touch on that for just a second. I was never put in a position where I had to mourn my father's death because I'm a medium and I'm an audible medium and I hear voices. So I'm, when my dad passed, I heard his voice. I continued to hear his audible voice. And every morning, good morning comes out of his mouth. So I hear that. So I never have had to mourn that negativity or that loss. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying loss is negative. I'm just saying I didn't have to go through those negative emotions of when somebody passes. Like it's the end of the world. There's so many things that go through our minds. How am I going to get through? How I'm going to live? What am I going to do? Things like that. But I've never had to do that. So when my father passed, it was more of although it was a tragic experience, it was more of a positive experience for me because I was able to become closer to my dad. My friend, yeah.
My twin hasn't grieved his father's death years ago. How can I help him open himself up to those feelings? His father drank himself to death. One of the things that my mom drank herself to death, by the way.
So did my father.
Yeah, and so did her father. So we get it. But there is a part in that that's open, and there's a part in that that's closed. Sometimes grief is handled in different ways. Sometimes grief is handled as a numbness, that you really can't access those feelings because of something that you're feeling that you need to hold on to. The numbness itself is what alcoholism causes. So being numb or not grieving in that space is the connection to the loss of a father or a mother that drank themselves to death. Sometimes it takes a while for that emotion to come out. Usually you create a new loss to make sense of that one. That's connection. That's the way connection works. If you follow a path of connection, you will always find where loss, abandonment, rejection, betrayal show up. It'll show up in connection again and again and again until some healing has happened to it. And that healing requires you to be mindful and very, very conscious of those losses, those gains, those rejections, those embracing. I mean, it's almost like you got to look for the opposites. And it's not easy to do, but it's possible. And once you actually are doing that, you'll be surprised at how much you look around and see how you've drawn things to yourself in either connection or disconnection of yourself. You will choose certain relationships as long as they make you feel disconnected. That's where most people get stuck. But what they're not telling you is there's a backstory behind why they're choosing that. If they lived in life entirely of being around people they were disconnected from, they will surround themselves with that and still point at them as the issue and not deep inside as something that they need to have in order to feel connection. Mm-hmm. It's twisted, but connection is that powerful and it is that deep. Let's see. I want to cry. I feel sadness, so I will cry with you.
Feel the sadness.
Oh, no, feel that.
It's the energy that I was talking about.
Oh.
The somber. It's very somber.
Oh. We humans have all sorts of things that we have trouble in letting go of. Letting go is an earth experience and or lesson. I've never experienced nature letting go of anything, so why should I? Nature has been our teacher from the beginning. It doesn't write a book. It's constantly staying the same. It reacts and responds to everything that's happening now, not what happened then. So I would imagine that if you just be in the nature of it, you realize letting go is a very hard act to do when nature doesn't know what letting go is. I like looking at things from the bigger picture when it comes to such pain. Pain is birth energy. It's how we got into this world. How I support him while not being in that. How you support him while not being in that emotional space with him.
Well, you know what he just said earlier, but here's the thing. There's a part of us that I don't. What I explained to you before is not what I'm hearing, but what I'm feeling, right? And I feel the sadness, and I feel the grieving, and I feel the mourning. I feel that. So this, I don't want to say despite, but along with the emotions that he said he was feeling as well, I'm also feeling those other emotions. So I guess the process that I go through is, and I try to make everything a very simple process. Look, if I stick my hand on a hot stove, I'll be damned if I do it again. So, I've personally already went through the mourning of his mother through him. I've already done that. I don't want to do it again. It puts me in a place of going through something that I've already been through. So to me, there's not much lesson in that. To me, there's more lesson in, look, if he wants to go to dinner, if he wants to, however he wants to honor that, you know what I mean, is perfectly fine. If he wants to sit and cry, then that should be perfectly fine. If he wants to be in a space where he's feeling those things, he obviously knows I'm connected and I'm here. But to jump in there and to be in despair energy, when we come out of that, right, we're both in despair energy. There's nothing for him to come out to that we're not going to have to go through together. I can stay in my space and create the positive, loving environment for him to come out of when he's popping out of that stage. Does that make sense? Am I making sense?
Yeah, you're making sense from your viewpoint.
Yes. Yeah. So to look, when it comes to like worry and stress, if he's worried and stressed about something and I'm not, I would rather him come in to where I'm at and we'll get the job done and we'll do what we need to do to make that worry and stress go away. If he's in a place of mourning and despair, I gotta clarify something. If it's something that just has happened, if it's been months, if it's new, right? I get it. I get going through that because it's part of the grieving process. But years and years and years down the line, taking a day of a mourning, and if you do, that's the way you go into healing. It's just not the way that I go into healing, and that's fine. But to take a day of observance and to actively carry sadness and despair and tragedy, to me, is something that you live every single year over and over and over, and it's becoming a cycle or a habit. So when you do things so many times over and over and over again, then it becomes a habit. So when 30, 40 years down the line, then November the 8th comes and we haven't broken any cycles. Does that make sense? I'm trying to make it sound, I'm trying to make it sound simple, like I have it in here. I try not to live an experience that I've already lived over again because it doesn't bring me any healing. So I'm going to take a road that's a little bit different and try to find a better message in that. If you're in a space where you're connecting and you're connecting with yourself and you're in that, I think that's perfect for you, and I think that's a good place for you to be. And just like anybody else, it's a great place to be if you're in that place of healing. And this is still a part of that healing. I not participating in the act, but participating just by being supportive and being here with him when I see him in that space, just allow him to feel that and to be in that space. I hope that helped. I don't know if it did.
If I cry at a funeral, it's just because I see someone else's pain by crying. I intimately understand the celebration concept. Thank you both for this video. I feel like one of the hardest things when you are connected to someone is to allow them to go through the motions as an individual. That was very powerful.
Very powerful. Because what I want to do is explain to him that she isn't gone. She's still here. She isn't gone anywhere. So you're mourning something that really honestly didn't happen. It's just her physically she's not here. I mean, you know, what I want to do is help him. I want to help him understand, but he's not going to be able to do that unless he goes through what it is he's going through.
I'm actually going through what I need to go through because when my mom was here, I was accepted for whatever I felt. There was no rejection of it. So I had to bring that back to myself. I couldn't allow you to do that for me.
To do what for you?
Be responsible or try to keep me from accepting me in this space. That's something I had to do for myself. You will not be able to accept me if I'm not accepting myself in this space. And for years, I've struggled with that. This year, I'm not. I usually look for you to not accept me in this space. This year, I'm not paying attention to that. I'm looking to see if I accept me in this space. And that's how I change the words of how it feels. That's how I know I'm coming out of this. That's how I know I've broken the cycle. It doesn't require you to show me my cycles. I can see my own. So when I'm embracing myself in this space and not trying to be angry or not trying to be upset, but I can hear my voice and I can hear my head trying to chatter away, trying to make that she's not accepting you in the space. And I'm ignoring that because I had a mom who accepted me in the space, which means you can too. Mm-hmm. So whatever that trigger is when I let go of. But I know that has caused a lot of disconnect for a period of time. When we have thoughts, those thoughts translate into something we got to lay on what we're feeling, whether it's in our chest, whether it's in our solar plexus or wherever it is. We lay it on top of us and we think the other person outside of us did that to us. Meanwhile, we keep a story that's laying it on us. I've removed that. And I accepted that I used to do that for a long period of time. It's kind of cool. Lee, if you relied on your mother as your rock, it obviously had an impact on your self-security. That understandably Sherry feels conflicted because she is his greater security, being him as her.
I actually understood that.
Okay, what does it mean?
You relied on your mother as your rock. It had an impact on your self-security, right? You had her. You had her to fall back on. You had your mom, right? I'm conflicted because I'm your greater security. So you relying on another security is seemingly putting me in conflict.
I think I'm confused on being secure with my mother. I wasn't.
Okay.
I was secure with her drinking. I was secure with her having little snide comments, but I accepted her that way, and she accepted me for how destructive I was. Mm-hmm. The security in that was in security of knowing who each other was and accepting that. She didn't know half the reasons why I did the things I did, and I don't know half the reasons the things she did for what she did. But in her passing, a lot of it that was unresolved has been resolved. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I don't know that there was ever security between us because she stopped I stopped having that kind of security with her around 6 years old.
Why?
What?
Why at 6?
My dad left and my mom had to work. She was gone 12 hours a day. And my brother had to watch my sister, so that left me out there. I survived it, But then I started seeing how life is not everything you can see it that it can be. So all the things that you want and need, you have to let go of. So when you let go of all of those expectations, anything could show up. And I learned a lot of valuable lessons because of it. She did what she had to do to take care of us 3 kids. Having a single mom, somebody who was your focal point, could be my security, but I wasn't secure because she wasn't there like she used to be. Does that make sense? So the nurturing that probably should have taken place after the age of 6 never occurred. So I never became secure with that.
Got it.
Yeah. Hopefully that answered some questions. Ooh, that just jumped up big time. Sorry, it all jumped to pretty quick.
Yeah, we
Okay.
still got a ton.
Oh wow. Boy, you guys are
No,
just
you
enjoying
gotta go
listening to
down.
us today, aren't you?
You have to go down.
I'm
There we go.
trying. You're really getting impatient with me.
No,
need to let
you were
that
going
go.
up. You were going up. It's time to go down.
Okay.
There we go.
So here we go. Thank you for this. My sister's funeral was the best funeral I ever attended. It was truly, truly a celebration of life. No sadness. The repast was at a bar where we continued the celebration. Somber can be very beautiful.
I agree with that.
Let's see. Hello, everyone. Hello. Advice on how to carry yourself through an extremely difficult conversation discussing divorce with my TF. It's the right thing to do, and he's going to be very angry at me and say hurtful things. Is the divorce already happened in you? Are you already in divorce on the inside, staying in a marriage where you feel disconnected? Start there. Start with where you're not connected to yourself inside anymore. It's not the outer blame that needs, because we want to tend to blame the other person outside of us for a disconnect that's happening inside of us. It's been a common theme, and it's been a way of relationships for as long as we can all remember, because it was inherited. We inherited ways to communicate with each other that no longer make sense with connection. So look for where you're disconnected inside and share that. That's the best place, because that's exactly what happened with you and Ron, is you guys started speaking of what you didn't want it to look like versus what you do want to look like. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I mean, if you're going to have a nasty divorce, you're going to actually attack the other person or look for them to attack you. Don't approach it from that. Approach it from a place where you can actually create peace. That's the best advice we can give you. Makes sense. Thank you, Lee. That definitely hit the nail on the head, especially how things have been with my twin lately. It's the right thing I need to do. I need to stand my ground with all the love that I have and do what Spirit is guiding me to do, despite it tearing me apart. There's a ton more of these, but I don't think we have enough time to keep going. We've got someplace we need to get to. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for listening. But most of all, thank you for seeing what connection can look like. We stay united in this. We never said it was easy, but at least you guys are seeing that even when we go through things, we have to be able to listen to each other, respect each other, and let each other speak from where they're coming from and not take it personal. I love you.
Yeah.
And we love you guys too. We'll see you soon.